Hello everyone, and welcome to another SkaredCast video here on SkaredCast. This is a live stream where I'm going to go over and discuss the most recent balance updates in the Warhammer 40,000 match play data slate quarterly balance update. So sit back, relax, and listen to a couple of things. So what I did is I went on Instagram and I asked folks to express their questions. And so I have quite a few questions to go over. It's going to be an interactive video. So as we get going, there will be people in the chat that will be asking questions as well. And we will discuss it from my perspective slash your perspective. A note for you, I tend to be an annoyingly positive individual. So if you don't like positivity, get out, go. Not for you. But if you do, then you can stick around. That sort of thing. And already we got some folks in the chat. Tabletop Chuck, Farseer, Green Blood, Olaf, what's going on? Hello, hello, hello. I'm really excited to discuss this because honestly, big changes. So let's start with this caveat. I'm happy that Games Workshop updated the rules. 100% happy. I will never have to play against 6 planes ever for the time being. So I'm excited about that. And I didn't get to play against it once, which I'm even more excited about. Scorpio, how's it going? Chop, how's it going as well? Or Ciop. Okay, let's dive into some of the questions I got on the Instagrams, which is really exciting. I've got a big cup of water here. I'm ready to rock and roll. This is going to be some fun times. Okay, let's see if I can find some of these questions because ideally I might have just, forgotten to actually take a look at them and stuff. Come on. Where is all this stuff? No. Madness, I tell you. Absolute madness. Uh-oh. Can I not go? No, don't create a video. Silly. I want to see the other stories. Well, of course, this is great live TV, of course, where I just go around and all that other good stuff. Well, let's say something that I really liked is as a Drukhari player, they did a couple of point changes, right? So you have Drukhari getting point increases, you have Admech getting point increases, and a lot of the big, nasty, competitive, sweaty lists went up in points. I'm really excited because the list I took to the Stutter Snotling, for example, and that's very much based off of the competitive army list that I'm running right now, which went up onto the Patreon yesterday. It's a free post. Go check it out. That's the list that I'm running this weekend at a big team tournament. It's a real space raid detachment that has a little bit of everything. And some Drukhari lists went up like 200 points because they were running all witches, all succubuses, all the good stuff, lots of raiders. My list went up like 30 points, which means I drop a couple of Reaver jet bikes and my list stays exactly the same, which is amazing because I really like my list. And then it balances against the other lists that went up because I know that when I played against those lists, they had more points than they should have had now, at least. Green Blood Crusade asks, do you think the Incubi are now going to make up the bulk of forces? So Incubi are a close combat unit. They go in. They were very efficient for their point costs. I would believe they went up 2 points a model, which means that you're paying for them. Now I have 2 units in my army, sure, of 5. However, I had seen some lists that ran 20 or 30 Incubi, and those lists I don't think you'll see very often. On stark contrast, I feel you'll see Grotesques and the Coven stuff more. Talos receiving sort of like a decrease in points. Grotesques, which are a very tough, big, multi-wound unit, also getting a point decrease. And they have a lot of the same sort of strengths that Incubi have, including damage potential. Having multiple damage attacks, lots of attacks, etc., etc. Hello, RPG Luminary. What's going on? I love my pain engines, says Wayne. I agree with you, Wayne. I love my Talos and my Kronos as well. I think they are very cool, and I really like the just the coven stuff in general. Now, I advocate for artists of the flesh, and I think more and more people are going to get converted into the artists of the flesh fold because it is a fantastic trait. -1 damage in the current meta is incredible, combined with a ignore damage roll of a 5+. All coven units are pretty incredible. Posted link to the stream on Reddit. Any ideas for which unit compositions? Nice. So in terms of witches went up. I prefer small elite unit of witches, combined with the fact that I run Red Grief, not Cult of Strife. So my witches are more a technical piece that go around and contest objectives and are just generally annoying. Whereas the second build you can do is the damage dealers, which are Cult of Strife, 1 unit of witches in a raider going in. It could be Blood Brides, for example, could be regular witches, with good hit rolls and then re-rolling wounds and a fight twice. And they're like a missile that you just send at something that you need to kill, and then you just murder it. So in terms of witches, you're going to see those 2 types of builds as well. Olaf has a good question. Says, do you think that Lilith is now more meta choice with a Master Succubus going up to 95 points? Yes, I do. I'm very happy to see Lilith be a cheaper Master Succubus. Now, I did run Lilith at a tournament a couple of times, or one time. I think I did a tournament review on it, where I tried her out. And I was thoroughly impressed. Even when she was more expensive than a regular Master Succubus, bouncing around in combat, multiple show stealer moves with her ability to fight twice when she was on just a killing rampage, the ability to just kill characters dead, Tesla attacks, like multiple attacks for 6 to hit, and now if you're running any sort of Strife detachment, she's a very appealing choice, and I think that is good because Lilith might not be as flashy as a competitive edge triptych whip Succubus that can just get lots of rerolls and lots of damage in, but she's very killy and very technical. She gets multiple moves, so you can literally move her 2d6 for a charge and then up to 18 inches worth of movement in the combat phase. So like she can be on one side of the table and then end up on the other side. It's fantastic. So Tabletop Chuck says, why won't they give Chaos 2 wounds? Why are you asking me that question? I don't know. I wish they did. I'm sad for Chaos Space Marines. If you didn't go watch Dave, Mini Wargaming Dave's reaction to Josh pranking him, hilarious. Go check it out on the Mini Wargaming channel. RPG Luminary says, I'm curious to see how they perform post points increase. Honestly, I don't think they will do too badly. I think Admech, Drukhari, Orcs are still really high up there. Like there's, but what they've done is they've given life to other armies because the big oppressive lists are no longer existent. So like 6 Admech planes or 5 orc plane lists don't exist anymore. So it gives life to other lists. I do think though that the dark horse, you mark my words, that we're going to see are knights. I have this gut feeling that knights are going to rise from the ashes of this update and start crushing people. The one thing the knights had against them was they can't hold objectives. Now they can hold objectives, and they have the firepower to completely table you. Let's just say I'm very excited to see, like already Team Canada, WTC players that love their knights are already sending lists and thinking about warglaves. And, the 14 warglaive list was more of a meme than anything. Now it's legitimately scary because it can hold objectives. which is ridiculous because that list exists and it's crazy. Absolutely nuts. Mark says grotesques are much more tempting now. Maybe 18 of them in an Artists of the Flesh detachment. I don't think 18 personally. You could do it if you want to. I'm thinking 8. 2 units of 4, 10, 2 units of 5. Or 9, 3 units of 3. Yeah, something like that. I love what they did with orcs. They're truly fun just to see on the table. Orcs are a great codex. Yeah. Charles says, knights are going to be so mean with OBSEC. I can say, can anybody say cheers to that? Put an F in the chat for everybody's sanity. Do you remember 4 years ago, 3 years ago, when there were more knights at events than people attending events? Yeah, there are a lot of knights hidden away in dark corners and alleys. And I feel like everyone's gonna go, ooh, and literally pull their knights out of hiding and table people and be like, oh, I don't have to worry about 3 Stratoraptors anymore. Amazing. You know? Ugh. When Castellans were nightmares in 8th. Correct. Davis says, an OBSEC armiger running headlong into an objective to steal it equals incredible. Yes, absolutely incredible. I do find it strange that people forgot AdMech was dominating before the 6 fire list and the points changes does nothing to that list. Sure. Like, I still think AdMech are really powerful. I still think Orc buggies are really powerful. You might not see 3 of each type of buggies, but they'll just make them into squads and run the squads, and you still have to deal with the same amount of buggies. They just beat a whole bunch of different types of buggies. So I don't think that's going anywhere. Imperial Guard tanks, says Paxton, with a 2+ save, 1 proper Imperial Blitzkrieg. So look out, enemies of the Imperium. Storm of Panzers is coming your way. Well, Paxton, I will say I played with the Astra Militarum yesterday. It's a battle report that'll be up on Mini Wargaming, or if it's a Vault video, it'll be in the Vault and my Patreon. So you can check that out. But I played against Knights, the new Knights using the new rules. I will say I did notice a difference with the Lehman Russes being a 2-up save. A big difference, actually, from like small arms fire and like AP2 mainly, like AP2, AP3 stuff. Getting an okay save was actually pretty cool. So I don't know about you, but I really like those changes. So in terms of other changes, you had the Chaos Space Marines get a change where they're Death to the False Emperor, extra hits on 6s, works against everyone now. Cool. It's still a modified roll, I believe, which means you can still modify it with like Prescience and an Icon of Excess, or I think that's a +1 to hit. Maybe something else like the Priest gives another +1 to hit. There's lots of ways you can potentially buff it and then have exploding 4s to hit. So like just do volume of attacks. So any Chaos players, go out, experiment, check it out. It is really disappointing that GW didn't just go, you know what Chaos need? What, Bob? I don't know, Fred. Well, I think Chaos Space Marines require an additional wound. Shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. That was my little role play inside of the Games Workshop development studio. I think main battle tanks getting a 2-up save could be a great fix for them going forward. I agree. I think that would be really cool. Hopefully that sticks around. Davis says, my favorite thing about this balance update is that they're committing to regular updates, and these erratas will not be clogging up FAQs. Better organization helps with finding obscure rules. Sure, I agree. Now, they did say they were going to be doing FAQs very often, and I'll see it when it happens. If in a year they're still doing quarterly updates, I'll be pleasantly surprised and happy. If they decide to skip one and then do it on a bi-quarterly basis, I will be sad. I like the changes as well, but Guard I think was the best. I do like the change to Guard. Greenblood says, do you think 2 wounds would do much, though, as most weapons went up 2 damage? Not really. It just stops Chaos Space Marines from dying to like random stuff, and makes them a little bit more survival against mortal wounds, so that they don't just like automatically lose entire squads to mortal wounds. Rather, they lose a few models here or there, right? Tabletop Chuck agrees with my little rendition of the Games Workshop behind the scenes. I feel like that's exactly how it went. And this weekend, for example, I know there have been a few. Raymond says, "How late are you?" You have shown up 15 minutes after we started chatting. However, I definitely need to find a way to get into and check these. To check this, I really, 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 really wanted to check all of these updates, but I don't know if I can. I want to see all of the updates. No, don't. Just leave. No, don't want updates. Man, I had all of these cool questions and stuff, and then they got pooped on. Sad. I didn't do it fast enough, apparently. I didn't do it fast enough, which is a shame. Yo, says JMK. What are your plans for Dark Eldar now? More Coven? Yes, more Coven. I run a bit of Coven. I think that's also really good. However, my list didn't really change much. I might be looking at more grotesques now that their point level is more appropriate, in my opinion. So, yeah. Tanya says, the War Mistress. Hello, Tanya, the War Mistress. The changes to Necrons could really shake up the meta. Good Necron players can leverage those character buffs. Good Necron players are going to have a field day when it comes to this update. John the Cron, who's been on the channel a lot, and him and I play all the time, has been messaging me non-stop for the last 3 days, being like, ooh, I can do this with Flayed Ones now. Ooh, I can do this with Wraith now. Ooh, Destroyers are amazing. Ooh, he just keeps on throwing things at me that he's so excited about. It also means something like the Silent King, that buffs a whole bunch of core stuff, suddenly buffs a lot more than what it did originally. And with the loss of planes and things like that, like it's going to be harder to pin down a Silent King that's hiding behind a big obscuring building. So you can't just like fly over and nuke him. If he wants to hide, he can hide, right? So I do think Necron players are also going to benefit a lot from this. Another thing that benefits from this are Grey Knights that didn't get touched, are Death Guard, Death Wing that didn't get touched at all either. And those tough, sturdy lists stayed the same. When anything kind of flexes around, they stay the same. They can stay consistent. They can play the missions. They can do damage. So it's an exciting time. The next 2 to 3 weeks will really see it. I do feel though we're going to see like the 18 one of a kind per unit buggy list with 2 planes still do really well. I don't think that changes anything for orcs, personally. GW employee Bob by day, Skari by night. Yes, exactly. Greenblood says, the boys over at Art of War, like myself, I'm one of the coaches in the Art of War, seem to think that the Necron changes were not a great upgrade, only meh. Well, we'll see. Like, Siegler's very much like, it has to be good or bad. There's no in between. So if he plays with it and loves it and finds that he can beat the other guys with Necrons, then they will have a change of heart, won't they? I kind of like the changes for them. Being able to teleport destroyers and resurrect them, and like it's that big destroyer blob is going to be a thing. Because Necrons had like ways to score points, ways to take board control. They died relatively quickly to a lot of the big units. However, they lack the ability to just like kill stuff at range. And I feel that Locust destroyers fix that. And with core, they can bring them back. They can give them saves. They have more versatile. They can make them hit better. I think that block of like 6 or 5 or 6 destroyers is going to be like a big deal moving forward. I need to keep reminding myself Coven is a homunculus and not a witch. Correct. I know, they mixed that up, didn't they? Paxton says, calling it now, Tank Commander spam is going to be next on the chopping block after the 2+ save. Well, if everybody's taking all of a sudden 3 tank commanders in a single detachment, right, and it starts dummying people, sure. But I don't think it's going to be enough to make Guard make ripples to the point where they're like, only 1 tank commander per detachment, which I could see eventually being a rule, because that's kind of how Games Workshop has been ruling specific things like that. But, you know. Olaf asks, what is your opinion on Ravagers, Razor Wings, Void Ravens? I am happy that they got cheaper, but a Ravager's now good. Raiders went up in points. Ravagers went down in points. So if you want Dark Lances, you take a Ravager. I think it's now costed to the point where you can put 1, maybe 2 in your list, and then take a bunch of Venoms, or not Raiders. You know, so you don't have to rely on the Raider or 6 or 7 Raiders to have all your anti-tank. You can just have 1 or 2 Ravagers as an anti-tank. Keep them back, shoot, shoot and scoot, whatnot. Personally, I use Heat Lances a lot on the Talos for a lot of my anti-tank stuff, but the Ravager's looking mighty spicy for that point cost. Yeah, I really, really like it. As for Void Ravens, double Void Raven is one of my favorite list builds. So I now have to run it now that they're cheaper. Like, my local meta here already hates my Void Raven bombers with a passion, to the point where folks in our local meta have put in specific tech into their lists to not get Void Raven bombed. So, just saying, I do want to try it some more. Almost everything in the Necron list is core, says Raymond. Absolutely. Poor Tau. Why? They gotta be in the line of fire. Because Tau are terrible. If you play Tau, you're a terrible person. Hot take. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how you feel. I'm joking, of course. Necron book feels dated. Yeah, it is a hybrid of 8th and 9th. I agree. The hive mind rises more. I do think, yeah, there is too much cheap anti-tank. Yes, definitely. Saber says, the Scorpec destroyers in my mind are probably the ones who benefit the most from core. But holy cow, did the Technomancer jump up in value and utility. Love it. Technomancer, bringing back a model a turn. 2 Technomancers, bringing back 2 models a turn. It's literally like having a Master Apothecary that you don't need to use any command points for, anything. You just go, oh, I need a 50-point model. Oh, I need another 50-point model. Oh, look, another 50-point model. Excellent. You can also use a resurrection orb now on them, right? I think that's pretty cool. Shoggoth says, I feel like even at the lower points for Grotesque, they feel really awkward to use. Taking them in transports is awkward, and they never seem tanky enough to foot slog. Well, if you want to put them in transports, you put 3 of them in a Raider with 5 Cabalite Warriors. And if the Raider blows up and you roll any 1s, you kill Cabalite Warriors instead of the Grotesques. So that's one good way to do it. Another is just to put them on foot and hide them behind a building. And then when they get advanced and charged, they can go murder things, which is always very fun. Our Luminary says, Tau was my first army. Well, I'm glad you play something else now. My brother, growing up, my brother played Tau. I played Black Templars. And so I have a huge rivalry with the Tau ever since for 20 years. He always used to be like, haha, and he'd just table me. Or I'd Rhino rush him and then just murder his whole army. So there's some good spice going on there. Technomancer can also be upgraded to 25 points to give light cover to a unit if targeted more than 12 away. Ooh, that's cool. So you can actually give it to destroyers and stuff? That's amazing. My hatred for Tau is eternal, says Mark. I agree with that. I'm glad they didn't get any updates in this update. Oh, the Tau hate train is real. If this patch happened a few days earlier, I'd use Close Combat AdMech. I feel robots for 90 are a bargain. Yeah, they did go down, didn't they? I like them a lot. I think they're cool. Also, Tau, the appeal for Tau is definitely has to be the fact that they're all anime robots, right? Just anime, like what is it? Tech robots, what are they called? Gundam style or whatever, which I think makes total sense. Plus, they're really posable. They look cool. Played against Tau this weekend. On an unrelated note, that was fun. Oh, it works on core and canop tech. Nice. Have never played against Tau. I have a fire team in a box somehow, somewhere. Excellent. Harvey asks, what armies benefited the most from the changes? Nids, Grey Knights? I think Knights benefited the most from the changes, just Knights in general, because they'll be able to score points now. I think, well, Nids benefited great from Octaris, Octaris, like they just did. And Grey Knights didn't really change, which means they're still really good. Like, they're still going to be up at the top there. And they have the tools to just completely annihilate people. I also think Thousand Suns are really, really strong. And I feel like if you're a good player, you can take Thousand Suns to like a crazy, crazy power level if you play really well. Prime Vino says, how's it going, Skari? Hi, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Happy to finally catch one of your streams during work. That's the best time to catch one of my streams is while you're working, because then you don't have to work. You can watch the stream. That's perfect. I agree. I think that's a perfect balance, work-life balance, where work goes down here and life and hobbies go up here. Yeah, I agree. Luna says, dang it, I just got home. How much did I miss? About 26 minutes worth. Slurms says, so, with the Succubus points hike, which loadout are you more likely to take? Razor flails? Whip? I like your work-life balance. Yeah. So, Slurms, very cool name. The loadout that I've been taking is the loadout I'm going to keep, which is a Archite Glaive that I then upgrade to the Blood Glaive and a Blast Pistol. That is by far my favorite loadout right now. And then what I do with that is I do the Blood Glaive and I give precision blows. So every 6 to hit is 3 mortal wounds. It has been a very versatile build. I like the strength 5, 3 damage when I'm targeting stuff that's not like infantry, that's like more of a vehicle. The mortal wounds are not as efficient as, say, a triptych whip precision blows because you get more rolls to hit with the triptych whip. However, if you do roll a couple of 6s, it's 3 mortals per hit, and sometimes you roll 3 6s out of your 7 attacks, and you do 9 mortal wounds. And it's like, and that's it. Like, whatever you were attacking just died. Which is very similar to, you know, the triptych whip precision blows. But I like having that extra strength, and I like having a free blast pistol, which I do think is very handy in a lot of matchups when I'm going against buggies or planes, or just having that extra anti-tank weapon works really well on something that hits on a 2+. Yeah, so that's just something that I do a lot of the time. Hola, señor. Hello, Damien. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Cómo están? A todos los de habla hispana, un saludo. Gracias por venir a visitar el canal durante el live stream. Prime says, with the new Drukhari changes, I'm looking at trying out Obsidian Rose, Cabal, Venom spam list. Cool. I'm sticking with a real space raid. I think that is just with the point changes and Witches going up and Master Succubus is going up and Coven going down and Homunculus is going down. Weirdly enough, my Master Homunculus went down. Amazing. I think a real space raid is where it's at. And then the Archon gives real ones to hit to all core. It's just a great way of playing Drukhari. I really, really like it. After this round of balance updates, asks Luminary, are there things that you feel still need rebalanced? Or I'm assuming you mean still need to be rebalanced. I'll go with that. I'm just joking, by the way. So yes, of course, there's still a ton of things that you know can always be rebalanced or balanced. You know, for one, I'd like to see, like, I know Genius of the Cult have their codex coming out. Like they've been like, they're coming out, Custodians are getting their codex coming out soon. So it would really be looking, for example, at some of the old nerfs that they've done in some of the books and like taking them out of the FAQs. Like one of the biggest examples is like Rangers in the Eldar Codex. In the Eldar Codex, Rangers have a forward deployment rule where they can deploy out of your deployment zone 9 inches away, right, from stuff. And that got FAQ to you can put them in Deep Strike. Why? Because that book was one of the first in 8th edition, and like that high pressure, being able to get up in someone's face and pin them in their zone was way too powerful when nobody else had any sort of counter to it. So they decided to make it Deep Strike only. But now that the edition has moved past that, and so many books have that sort of mechanic, you can get those Rangers and just take that sentence out of the FAQ and let them use it as it was intended, which was you can forward deploy your Rangers. Just something as simple as that would actually increase the power level of Eldar without having to change a thing. Being able to control more of the board, stop people from getting too aggressive on you, let your firepower go out and do some damage. And it's the trend of Games Workshop to double, triple, or quadruple hit you in the nuts when they're doing a balance update, where they're like, let's triple nerf them because they're too good. Instead of like, and it was because of Inari that a lot of this stuff happened. Because Inari and Eldar meshed so well that you could just abuse a lot of the Inari rules using Eldar mechanics and Eldar units, so then Eldar suffered for it, right? Anyway, that's just me. I like it, says Slurms. Free blast pistol, definitely clutch. Yes, 100%. Shadow Sun says, I do hope my Autarch will get to be slightly as good as the Succubus. Ha! Fat chance. I doubt it. Succubuses are boss. They're also no longer 60 points. So, what should I do with my 3rd and 4th AdMech planes? Trash or fire pit? Says Jeff Brown. For you, Jeff, I think you should just put them on your mantelpiece to remind you how terrible of a person you are for buying them in the first place. I love you, Jeff. I'm actually kind of sad that you don't get to like dummy people with that list anymore, because it was a fun list. Damien says, "Oh, Skari, you think we see more Talos in games?" Yes, I think Talos are one of the best units in the Drukhari book. It's funny because I'm probably going to look at trying to recreate my LVO 2018 list with the Grotesques and the Talos and kind of see how close I can get it with the current points. Paxton says, pretty much everyone who doesn't play Tau hates them. I played a game of Kill Team against them buggers, and boy, oh boy, do I hate those guys. It's the hate of Tau. It just happens. I'm thinking, oddly enough, says Saber, my new go-to for Necrons will be 2x3 Locust Heavies. With my will be done, they hit on 2s, roll 1s, with that tasty strength 10 AP4, 3d3 damage, 180 points per squad. Seems promising. It does, right? 180 points for 3 strength 10 shots. That reroll hits, good damage, good AP, good strength. Can crack open some transports, can stop people's like long-range firepower, or planes even, right? Can bring them down, which is really, really cool. Give sisters forward deploy, says Michelle Mack. They have forward deploy. It's like a forward movement. They basically, it's different, but they do have a mechanic that allows them to get up the board. A lot of video games go back on certain nerfs and changes in hindsight if they made them too strong, too weak. Jeff says, love you. I love you too, Jeff. Thanks for coming to hang out. Yeah, weird that Sister's new scout unit can't forward deploy. Yeah, the pre-game move kind of works. It's just you can get shut down by forward deploy. You can still switch between Dwellmers and gunboats, yes. Between events, that's true. Drukhari overflow. Sisters don't forward deploy because they like to make the other armies wait while they put up. No, that's Michelle. No, that's not how that works at all. Silent King, Wraithstar, just saying. I agree. I think the Silent King Amdor is going to have a resurgence. I really do. Especially because plane, you can't have like 5 planes just come around the building he's hiding and shoot him to death. You know what I mean? Hannibal Lichter says, good evening from France. Glad to catch one of your live streams. Glad to have you in the chat. Kill Team is a lot of fun, Paxton. Okay, so back to the updates. You know, all in all, you know, I'm going to start wrapping this up, or I will literally talk 4 hours about this subject. All in all, I am very pleased with the changes. I think it's going to shake up the meta. You know, things that are very strong but didn't get touched, like Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, and even some Death Guard lists. I feel like they're going to see a bit of a resurgence. There are a lot of knight players that have lots of knights, and their ability to score points, like we've seen knight lists do relatively well at some of the big Games Workshop grand tournament events. And this is before they had objectives secured and could actually hold and contest objectives now. So, you know, I feel like we're going to see a huge resurgence of knights being objective secured. It's incredible, and I think that's probably going to be the, if not the one of the biggest things that comes out of this change, is that whole gatekeeper. If your army can't kill a knight, you shouldn't bring that army, is going to be a thing again. And it's not necessarily going to be a big knight, but I can see like the 12 to 14 warglaives or armigers just like swarming the table. And that thought terrifies me. That is probably one of the most terrifying lists for me right now. And that's like akin to like 18 buggies. But now they're all OBSEC, right? It's crazy. Just think about it for a second. I also think Necrons are going to be resurgent. You know, with the ability of the Silent King to not get alpha struck off the table, because he can hide behind obscuring, and there are not going to be enough planes to take him out in a single turn, and the fact that his buffs, like in his auras, affect more of the Necron army. I think that's going to be like, I feel like creative Necron competitive players are going to find a lot of value from that. Chaos Space Marines got an update, and then the points changes to Adeptus Mechanicus and Drukhari are going to shift the way those lists play. Now, the lists of Admech and Drukhari are like, there's enough depth in those codexes that you can be flexible to build competitive lists with them. And I think that is not going to change, right? But then you look at orcs. Orcs got a cap on one of each type, essentially like a rule of one, essentially, for orc lists, for the buggies and the planes and things like that. However, all of their units are good. So I still see orc players doing something like double Dak Jet or one Dak Jet, one Wasband Blaster, if they can take 2 Deckers or 2 planes, and then a bunch of buggies. They're just all going to be different types of buggies, but you're still going to have to deal with a bunch of buggies. That's not going to change. And they're still really good. So I feel like orcs are still going to win lots of games. They're just not going to table people in 2 turns. It might take a little bit longer, and people have more of a chance to play against them. So I'm curious to see how that works. Plus, Speed Freaks just came out. We don't even know how that's going to affect the meta. And the Blood Axis stuff came out. They've got some really weird rule interactions that can shake up the meta as well, right? And then we'll do a couple more final questions, and then we'll call it. But yeah, let's do this. So Technomancer with Canotech Cloak is 105 points. Resurrects 1 to 2 models if you use 2 CP and give light cover. Nice. I do like that combo. Skari, after this balance, I think Astra is going to better, not meta breaker, but better. What do you think? I think Astra Militarum did indeed get a little better. Not necessarily because of the fact that Russes have a better safe, but because the Cadian update. It's actually I tried it out. It's not bad. You know, if you want to run solo guard, it's probably one of the better choices. However, I would still run guard and Custodes, regardless of what you do, because Custodes complement guard really nicely. The updates were great, and I main orcs fully support the changes. Absolutely. Plus, less hate from people. Like, there's so much hate. Like, for the longest time, Drukhari were like, Drukhari OP, Drukhari OP. They're still really strong. But then, like, all of the attention went to, like, Admech planes and orc spam. And so I've been able to kind of play my Drukhari without too much hate from people. However, it does get annoying when you're like, I've been playing this faction forever. let me play with my toys and actually enjoy the fact that my book is good for a change, right? I'd like to see Codex Wraith Knights. Interesting. I do like how OBSEC falls on the Squire as the big knight just stands there. Correct. Seems like the core of old Drukhari is the Raiders, though, which got nerfed quite hard. I only use 1 or 2 Raiders in every list, so it didn't hit me at all. And that was mainly because you can't hide Raiders. They're so big that a lot of terrain at tournaments doesn't give you enough terrain to hide 7 Raiders. And I like having armies where I can hide and not have anything visible. That's my favorite as well. 20 OBSEC bikers. Correct. Orc bikers. Oh, it's going to be so good. Unka Stunka says, let's hope they find a way to reel in spam like a rule of 3 that actually works. Yeah, we'll see. I think it works, though. Like, in comparison to things that I've seen in the past. Remember, I've been playing for a long time, so I've seen things that you kids wouldn't even believe. Farseer says, do you think that there is much more incentive now to run Venoms over Raiders? I run Poison Tongues, and actually I have some in my lists. Yeah, well, Venom stayed the same. They didn't change. In 2-point increases to the Raider, Venoms are the same. Maybe there's a reason as to why Sean Naden was running all Venoms. I wonder why. It's not Drukhari hate, it is Skari dice roll luck hate. Butt dice are a real thing, okay? I keep my dice in my back pocket, and I pull them out, and they're literally imbued with some sort of out-of-my-butt luck. It's fantastic. And I even got my shirt for this weekend. I'll have to show a picture. I'll put a picture up later. But I have a shirt that has a little thing that says dice on the back with a little arrow towards my pocket. It's the best for the team event this weekend, which I'm super, super excited about. So you're saying you pull your wins out of your butt? 100%. 100% Raymond. I have no skill whatsoever. It's all dice luck. I just roll dice. That's it. There's no luck whatsoever that is not butt dice luck. And skill? 20 years worth of skill? Playing competitively? Whatever. Being a coach? That doesn't matter. Round 1, you're going down, says Jeff. Yeah, absolutely. Bring it on, baby. Enjoy your 4 planes for the last time. You know, that'll be a win enough for me. I love it. Okay, well, that's going to be it. I am going to be doing a premiere right after this, the premiere of the latest battle report, which will be Freebooter Orcs versus my competitive Drukhari list. Will be premiering in a few minutes right after I finish this video. Other than that, so stay tuned for that. It'll be going live. I'll be in the chat. We can chat and stuff like that. But yes, I agree. If you want to be good, you want to balance the game, do you? Quote me on this. Get good, scrub. Other than that, thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. I've been Skari, your grateful host. A huge shout out to the channel Patreons, people who support the channel through super chats, likes, shares, subscribes, all that good stuff, without whom I could not do what I do. If you'd like to support the channel, the links are in the description box, especially the Patreon, which is literally the main thing. So if you want to support the channel, just check it out. Other than that, it has been amazing. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and stay tuned for more amazing content. I'm Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. The Dark Kid. Bye, everybody.